What is up, everybody? Good to see you all on this fine Sunday evening, even though both the Patriots and the Bucks lost for me today, but that's okay. I'm happy to be here. We will use some comic art talk and show and tell about comic art to assuage my sadness, I guess you can say.
You are a sad boy right now.
I am sad right now. These things happen. How are you, my friend? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm awesome day. So let's get on with this.
All right, sounds good. Everybody, real quick, let me just do a quick shout out. Want to shout out to the new subs. This is not all of them, as usual. Only the people whose names I can see due to privacy settings. So Lee Parmenter, Not So Nice Art, Thor 2012, Poquito, and Dino Mauricio. Thank you very much, guys. I really, really appreciate it. And
hey, Mike.
Let me jump back in here. Wanted to say hello to everybody. As usual, Mr. Red Jack 12. Brian, thank you so much. Thank you for the welcome, the warm welcomes you always give everyone. Thank you. Mike, Paul P. What is up, Paul P? And my wife, of course, as always. Thank you, Vivian. And Jason Lagway, good to see you, sir. Sorry to say that the Michigan State Spartans got crushed this weekend. Woo! And what else we got? David Ascani.
Don't get too excited.
What is up? The Rickster. Good to see you, Rick. And what else we got here? Of course, Ian, as always. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Jeff. Good to see you, sir. I know you will be in and out with the football. That's very good. Mr. Easy Go Lucky. Thanks, as always, my friend. And who else do we got? I don't want to miss anybody. John Brown. Evening to you. Maki Pupu. Hello, sir. And Brokenhearted. I'll get to that in a second. Yes, hey, Marcus. Paul P. What else? Who else do we have? And of course, NSN Art is here. Hey, look who's saying hello to you. Doesn't bother to say it to me, but he'll say it to you. That's okay. That's all right. I still like you, Mark. It's okay. And Caesar, what is up, Caesar? Let's get this going. 49ers. Oh, okay. Comic Boston just get to register my like and say hello to Vivian. Again, another guy coming in just to say hello to somebody else other than me. Thank you. Thank you, Comic Boston. I hope your travels are going well. So good to hear you, and I appreciate you coming in and saying hello to my family, even though you're not saying it to me. But thank you. And that's it. And yes, Jason, ouch, but true, baby. Woo! And look at this. Look at this. What's happening? Everybody loves you, but not me. Wow. Look at this. And what's this? Prawn Star Jimmy?
Prawn Star.
Is that something that I said? I said so many things just now that I don't know.
I don't know either.
Okay. All right. And CJ, good to see you as always, CJ. Just before we get into the art, guys, wanted to sort of just say that here, let me jump into where, let me get to the comments at the top that Mr. Red Jack was saying, and let me just pop it up here. For those of you not aware who didn't see the news, very, very sad news. Keep artist Carlos Pacheco in your thoughts and prayers. The news posted a couple of days ago or yesterday that he was diagnosed with ALS. That's amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, otherwise known as Lou Gehrig's disease. And it's a horrible disease for those who don't know what it is. It's horrible. Not that, any disease is not good, but you read about this and the way it affects you. And yeah, it's horrific. So, very, very sad and shocked. And, before we came on live, Hart and I were talking about Carlos and how, we both really like his art. And
yeah,
listen, whether you like his art or not, it doesn't really matter, right? It's anybody that I hear when I hear people being diagnosed with any disease, obviously, but when I hear ALS, I'm as a big baseball fan and a big fan of the history of baseball and a Yankee fan in the American League. I've since childhood, I've been well aware of Lou Gehrig and his story. So ever since then, anybody when I hear ALS, it hits me. So very, very sad. And yeah, keep him in your thoughts. So that's it, guys. We're 6 minutes in, and I do believe that this will be a pretty quick show because if you remember last week, Hart and I and you guys, we all chatted together for about 25 minutes or so before we got into the art. This is only 6 or 7 minutes, and that's it. So I think it's going to go pretty quick because it's the same amount as art will be showing as last time. So if this finishes in about an hour, even so much the better. Just to let you guys all know as well. Real quick, that next week, listen, you guys know I've said this before. I'd rather not do, 2 weeks in a row of the same type of show. I'm good, but 3 or more, I'd rather avoid. But sometimes because of scheduling and trying to get other people, guests, basically, that's the toughest part. Guests to agree to come on and waiting for them to answer me. It makes things hard, and sometimes I can't wait any longer, and I just have to fill the schedule with something. And so, although tonight is our second show and tell for the look back into the past theme, next week I have no choice. We're going to do a third one. So here, just for those of you who haven't seen it yet, let me get rid of. Sorry, I got to go back and look for that comment. Where's that comment? There it is. Yeah. So next week, it'll be a third consecutive one. I'll look back into the past on my old dealer inventory. After that, the majority of the month of October should be a whole bunch of different things that are not this. But at some point, if you guys like it, I have more than enough stuff to continue these look back into the past on my inventory. So. That's it. We may do that, but one more next week, and then after that, we'll do some different stuff. Okay, so let me just quickly jump back into the chat to see if there's anybody new I need to say hello to. There we go. Stevie B. Hey, Stevie B. Good to see you, man. Stopping by some relaxing chat after the day of roller coaster football. Yeah, you could say that again. Stay strong, Carlos, and thanks for all the art you created for us to enjoy. Absolutely. And what is this here? So CJ, the waiting is the hardest part. Rick, this show needs to get up to 88 miles an hour. It's going to start. Don't worry. How about a karaoke? Ruben sing Canadian rock bands? Sure. Why do they look like so serious in that pic? It's because we're pensive. We're pensive, not serious. We're taking a look back into the past, and we're wondering.
Actually, I was wondering. He's better looking than me.
You flatterer, you. Now we're looking back into the past thinking, why the hell is most of this stuff not yet on CAF? Because it continues to be, most of it anyways, not on CAF. So we're like, wondering what's going on. How can we explain this? So
secret societies.
Rush, absolutely. I won't sing it for you, but you can request it. And okay, so Chickadee China, the Chinese chicken. Have no idea what you're talking about, CJ. But let us get into this, shall we? Okay, so the first piece on the docket, it is John Buscema, and it is. So check this one. This is a pretty cool one. The Thor to 263, currently owned, a very rare, former piece of mine that I know the owner because it happens to be on CAF. So currently owned by Carlos Diaz. And I wanted to say something about this, guys. And you too, Hart. I don't know. Anybody can chime in on this. So ever since I got this, and even to this day, every single time I lay eyes on this, my eyes go immediately to the creature or whoever that is. And I immediately think, ooh, Simonson. To me, that creature thing, I feel like it's drawn by, 70s era Simonson, even though the Thor is clearly Buscema Sinnott. I
think it's the faceplate. I think it's the faceplate that's drawing you in because that's kind of a Simonson-like drawing.
Yeah, the
design. Because the rest is, for me, it's like Kirby, Shadows, Mike Royer kind of thing. But yeah, the Simonsons are the headgear part.
Yeah, maybe that's it. And what do we say? Oh, we got somebody saying something. What's happening here? Paul says, Hey, Rudy, I think it's so very mature of you that you can look back at what you once owned and enjoy that without having the regret overpower you. Oh, well, I appreciate it, I guess, but no, I mean, my here, let me jump back and get out of this. My sort of outlook on that has always just been, once it's gone, right? And yeah, it's like, and again, remember, I made the conscious decision to try to, say, hey, maybe I can make a living selling art because I wanted to do something that I loved and I was passionate about. That was my goal always throughout my life, right? So this is why my entire life I've pretty much been in dealing collectibles one way or another. But yeah, I mean that's kind of what it is, and it is what it is, right? I always knew that if I'm going to deal, it's very hard to be a collector and deal at the same time, right? Because you love the stuff, you want to keep it all, and especially me, the fact that like I've mentioned this before. I dealt in the same type of stuff I liked it to collect. So sure, it kind of, it makes it harder, but nah, man, like you have to have that clear separation. Collect over here, you deal over there, and that's it. Once it's gone, it's gone. And yeah, years later, whatever, you can, I don't mind looking back at it. It's not about regret. Like I said, sometimes there are times where there's a few pieces here and there, like that Mark Beecham Spidey Black Cat piece last week. I was like, man, that would be cool, so cool to have right now. But for the most part, yeah, no, I don't, life's too short for the regret thing, So CJ says Kirby-ish squiggles. Yeah, kind of. Not so nice. Would be interested to know if the pieces were bought directly from Ruben years ago and the current owner has held on to it, or if it was sold to someone else and now resides with the current owner. So I don't know what you mean. Would be interesting to know if the pieces were bought directly from me years ago. Well, of course, I'm telling you, I sold these all at least 15 to 22 years ago. So I haven't owned any of these for at least 15 years. That's the most recently that I owned them, So yeah, so I sold them to somebody and I don't know what happened after. Maybe they still own them or maybe they sold it to somebody else. But no matter which way you look at it, even if they sold it to somebody else later on down the road, it makes it even harder to understand how did those people not end up putting it up on wanting to show it off and share it with the hobby. You know what I mean?
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so why is a calf the only one to post on? Is it because there's the bigger audience, or is it maybe they have like Facebook only groups that they can share it amongst themselves? I mean, there's that kind of avenue for them to kind of like have a select group, and they share it amongst themselves rather than bring it at calf where everybody can see it. And, they'll get inundated with requests. Will you sell this? Will you trade it? Will you do this and that?
Yeah, but we've talked about that, and it doesn't, what's happening here, it's not explained by that because of the sheer volume of what I sold, and the majority of it, well over 80%, is not on calf. So how do you explain it? Why is it that everything, or like, the vast majority of what I've sold so long ago, sure, some of it you could imagine would never appear because, I don't know, some collector who doesn't like to share their art. But you would think that would be the minority, not the vast majority. You know what I mean? You can't really explain that. That's bizarre to me that the majority of it stayed off calf,
The way I see it is collectors can be hoarders, right? So hoarders have the mentality of, it's mine and I don't want to show it to anybody unless I get kudos for it or whatever, likes, whatever. But for the most part, I see it as being, once they get it, they don't have obligation to show it to anybody, right? Because they're getting the enjoyment out of it. No, I understand your point. And the thing is, it's just when they have it, they don't want to share it, which is their right because,
No, I'm not even saying if it's a right or wrong thing. It's just, I just find the percentage number bizarre, right? It's not that, some people don't want to share their art. That I get. I'm just shocked that it's not even like it's the, 50% plus one type majority. It's literally 80, 90, 95% of what I've shown, like including the, my first two shows, with the Hulk, my former Hulk collection. It was well over like 85% or something like that. Like, that's what I'm saying. It's just, that's bizarre to me that so much of it, just hasn't reappeared. So I don't know. So Not So Nice says, I know someone bought it, but they sell it to the current order. Well, like, again, How do I know? I don't know who the current owner is on most of these pieces. As far as Carlos Diaz on the Thor cover, I don't think I sold it to him, but it was so long ago. I don't really remember, but I don't think so. So there you go. And Common Grab Boston, you're still around. Ruben, the consolation is that be the case is that you are bringing joy to the person whom the artwork was sold. I guess I bring joy by putting things in anybody's collection regardless, right? I don't know. Grateful for receiving more than once, and thank you for everything. You're very welcome. My pleasure. I mean, that's what it's all about. Ruben, the Italian hand gestures. You're always good with the little duh puns, CJ. I appreciate it. Okay, Comic Girl Boston, thank you so much again for coming in, even just for a few minutes. I appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your trip. And look what Not So Nice says. I feel insulted by Hart's hoarder term. He's joking. He's joking.
No, I'm saying, I'm calling out Mike.
And Caesar says, Cav is not for everyone. I know some who find it difficult to navigate. That is very true, especially people over the last, I would say, 10, 12 years, newer people who I've always, when they've come to me for, let's say, looking for advice or whatever. And one of the first things I say is, do you have a calf gallery, first of all? Do you have one? If not, go open one. And so many of them come back to me sheepishly, believe it or not, as if they're feeling bad. They're like, yeah, and they're apologetic. Oh, I'm sorry, but like I went there like you told me to. I was going to open the gallery. I was so overwhelmed, though. I just didn't even know where to begin. I don't know how to do it, whatever. And I agree. It's like, I kind of have to laugh it off and say it's not the nicest looking site. It's not the easiest to navigate when you're brand new. And I can think about that. For those of us who've been around a long time, we're kind of used to it now, right? It's obviously it's second nature, right? But I can see absolutely the way it's laid out and stuff. It's so busy. It's so busy. So for new people, I have to typically, when they come back to me, I typically have to end up pointing the, step by step. Okay, go to click this, then click that, then click that. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's how it is. But no, you're right, Caesar. That's how it is. But it's not my fault.
To me, it's the drop-down menus when you're trying to upload. It's too many things. If there was like 3 buttons and you're done, that would be a lot easier for the newbies. They would do it without a problem. For us, it's like you said, it's easy because we've been through the whole rigmarole
for so long too, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, Red Jack. And what does Paul say before we go on to the next one? Yeah, I love when you say how much you like putting your art in new appreciative collections. I think that should be one of the joys. I mean, like I said, Paul, for me, I can't look. I'm never going to speak for another seller, okay? But for me, I'm not exaggerating in the least when I say my entire life, since from the age of 12, when I discovered comics, right? Like, well, that's not when I discovered them, but that's when I fell in love with them. I immediately thought, I want to do this with my life. I want to do something with comics. And then it became comic art. And then something with collectible. It always had to be collectible. Just bottom line was, I knew I always wanted to spend my life doing something I was passionate about. I knew I couldn't be that regular 9-to-5 doing something else because there was nothing else other than sports that I would have wanted to do and love it, And so, of course, doing something like that for a living, it's not. It can't just be about the money, selling. I just want to make a sale. I want to make a sale. No, it's got to be. I love it. I love every aspect of it. Well, other than the packing. Packing sucks. Although I take good pride in it and pack well, but it does. I will admit it still sucks. But yeah, that's part of the fun. It's being a dealer has allowed me to meet so many people, talk to so many people with like-minded people, right? With the same interests. And what could be better? You're making a living doing something that you keep talking. It's a hobby that you're really, it's like the old adage of do something you truly love in life and you'll never work a day in your life. It kind of goes with that. So
I go with stripping. That's mine.
Stripping. There you go. That would have been my second choice.
Yeah. Hey, Ruben, one quick question. Yeah. In your time that you've sold, have you sold to any sports personality? Bringing both your love of sports and art together.
I can't say that I have. Okay. I can't say that I if I did, I don't remember it. I do remember selling to well-known writers, and
musicians.
I'll just say entertainment people.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I obviously have no reason to throw out names or whatever.
But to follow up that statement, do they want to post? Do you tell them that you say no?
Do they what?
Do they want to post their artwork? Did you mention CAF or anything like that?
Oh no. I mean, because I remember whenever it was somebody who was sort of celebrity-ish,
right.
I always immediately knew as soon as I see the email come in, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Really? You like to buy art, which immediately means they're not on CAF, they're not posting, you would have to understand that makes kind of total sense, right? Why celebrities, right? They don't want to be hassled by people, whether in person or online. So I would absolutely expect that any kind of celebrity would not want to be posting publicly online, unless of course they were using a completely fictitious name and, leave it at that, so.
Thanks for answering that.
Sorry, say again?
Thanks for answering that.
Oh, yeah, no worries. All right, guys. So let's go on to the second piece. And this is not a big piece. This is just another Thor piece, but I always quite like the Sal and Klaus combination. Nothing too special about it, but it was one of my photocopies that I'd made, whatever. So I figured, okay, I'll bring it along anyways, and show this one too. And it's just also because of the fact that, again, keep in mind, all this stuff, or most of the panel pages, at least, like there's most of the stuff tonight you're going to see is going to be splashes and covers. So there's only, I think, 5 or 6 panel pages, and the panel pages back in those days when I had this stuff, I would have probably been selling this like the 1 1/4, something like that, maybe 150, but probably 1 1/4, something like this. So it's just funny to think now, what is this today? Like $750 or something, or I don't know, $800. I don't know, something ridiculous. Like it's maybe more. I don't know.
1,200.
Say again?
I'd say 1,200 at least.
Oh God. So I don't even know. Maybe you're right too, right? Like I'm just, wow. I just think it's so much more, And see, that's what I'm saying, Paul. You see, 150 exactly to you, because you came in, 10, 12 years ago. Exactly. You think of it that way. But for me, having come in the 90s, I'm like, yeah. And that's the crazy thing is that although I'm sure that it's worth more now, right? And Paul says, yeah, for sure, at least 1,200, right? In my mind, yeah, and Mark says over 1,000 for sure. That's it. In my mind, I look at this stuff when I go through my photocopies, and right away, numbers pop into my head. But the numbers are never what they may be worth today. The numbers immediately pop into my head like what I was asking for them back then, because that's all I knew those pieces to be worth. That's what I associate. So the image immediately pops up the value from back when I owned it, right? And so for me, that's the normality for me. So when you guys are like 1,200, 1,000 for sure, easy, I'm like, what? Who would pay that? But on the other hand, I'm aware that that's what it kind of goes for, right? It's crazy to me, but yeah, that's how it goes,
Well, everything's going up now, so you gotta at least triple it, right?
Pretty much. I mean, yeah. Well, we all know, like especially in the COVID era, plenty of stuff has gone up 5 to 12 times, and that's not even an exaggeration. Plenty of stuff went 5 to 12 times during the COVID era alone. Insanity. So, yeah, it's pretty crazy. Okay, so let me go to the next one. And oh yes, so this is like, you guys remember I had one of these last week, and I got 2 of them for you this week. So this is another of the Electric Company magazine splashes of a short story inside. What I like about this one and the next one I'm going to be showing in particular, it's just that it happens to be by Sal Buscema, whereas, typically any Spidey Super Stories related art was by Win Mortimer, who, obviously he drew, it was drawn for children, right? So the target audience was was young children, and so therefore the style had to be very sort of more animated, if you will, cartoony and childish, I suppose is a good word. But it was kind of cool to see something more stylized along the lines of what you would have seen in regular Marvel Universe comics around this same time,
Hey, Ruben.
Yeah.
Where's Spidey's web attached to, or what is Spidey's web attached to?
Oh yeah, he had just pulled in from another moon. It was like a different moon.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So he spun the web, and then he swung from another moon, and then I guess his
Cosmic Spider-Man. I got it.
Yeah. If he wasn't gonna run into the Star Warrior guy, his next thwip would have been to the nearest star, I think. You know.
I got you. All right.
Yeah. So, and what do we got here? It would cloud your judgment when bidding now. Yeah. Prices are pretty much triple. Yeah. Again, like I said, just the last couple of, it was so fun. Yeah. I like the two fighting stars on the cover. Not so nice. No. Your anus, my friend. Your anus. And Spidey, who I'm attracted to. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the suspension of disbelief. That's what. There you go. Right, Hart? He's suspending on disbelief.
Yeah.
That's
okay. We'll go with that. No physics there. No physics.
No, that's right. That's the one thing they weren't teaching the kids yet.
No.
Okay.
Gravity doesn't matter.
Okay. So. Let us check out the next Spidey Super Stories, the last one that I have. And also let me go back. And sorry, guys. You can look at this while I go back and get Stevie B's swinging from a star. Yeah, exactly. There you go. So, yeah, another one done by Sal and with the Jester on it. Again, pretty cool because particularly for me, at least, because it is of that time period from just the regular Marvel Universe comics, right? So this is what this could certainly have been a splash. It would have fit in just as well in an issue of Spectacular, Peter Parker, Spectacular Spider-Man. So
there must be a toy company making all these death traps and stuff. So they're making bank off Joker and Jester, right?
Joker, you mean Jester? Yeah.
Well, both. Any villain comes to this company to build these giant whatever to trap the villains. Yeah. So, I mean, I want to be part of that company.
No. Yeah, and those were definitely the two characters that, especially Joker, I would think, right? Or no, wasn't there another Batman villain who would have had these weird kind of death traps? Wasn't there another one of his villains?
Well, I know Penguin did some, and so did Enigma.
Oh, you mean the Riddler?
Riddler, yeah. Riddler.
Okay.
Because Riddler would put traps all over the place, just for the fuck of it.
Yeah. All right, guys. So these next 4 pieces, I hope there are some ROM lovers among you. Very, very, what's the word? A cult favorite. Including for me, I always loved ROM, and so
not RAM, right?
Say again.
Not RAM.
Definitely
random access memory.
Yeah, no, it's definitely read-only memory.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes. Are you? By the way, are you? And for anybody listening, are you not aware that that's what it stood for?
I did know that what this stood for.
Okay. No, because
I've been in the computer industry for a long time, so
I know, but it's one of those things where if you discovered it as a kid, I could imagine how a lot of people may not have sort of caught on to it because you're just thinking, oh, cool, robot. His name's Rom. Yeah. You wouldn't think of why it's Rom. It's Rom, whatever. It sounds good, That's it. So, you never know. What we got here? You see? Yes, thank you, Caesar. Toyman.
Oh, okay.
Toyman. I knew it had to be somebody else. Yeah. Oh, come on.
Well done, Caesar.
Morgan Freeman. You have Hart here to read it out for you if you want. What do you need Morgan Freeman for? And ROM was a fun book, exactly. And anyone who has searched ROM on eBay knows. I'm sure there are people out there that don't know, even today. I'm sure of it, and perhaps wouldn't want to admit it. In fact, I bet you there's somebody in the crowd when I just said that who were like, "Oh shit, I can't believe I never knew." But of course, we'll never admit to it.
Actually, it stands for Read on Monday.
All right, guys. So let's get to that ROM stuff. So the first one is ROM number 8. Splash page number 1 splash. And of course, current owner unknown. No idea where this is right now. But yeah, very nice because of course it has a nice large image, almost full figured image of Rom standing around. Yeah, I mean, what else do people want other than the hero standing around posing like a hero? To me, that tends to get kind of boring. But yeah, what are we talking now? Because again, you know, since I don't really want to buy this stuff anymore, I don't pay too much attention to the values of anything I don't really want to buy. So what is this worth now? Like $5,000 or something like that? Because it's a splash.
5 to 7. 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. Really? 5 to 7 grand. Wow.
Well, think about it. It's going to be fresh to market, right?
Thanks, Paul. I'm trying. Yeah, Marcus, I think you're correct. It's probably closer to 3.36 million. Exactly. Yeah, precisely. I think so.
I think Marcus has this in his collection, but he hasn't shown it to anybody.
That could be. Stevie B walked into a comic shop in the early 80s and Mike Esposito was sitting at a table. Not a well-advertised event, so we got to talk one-on-one for 2 hours. That's fun. Sold me an ink page of his for $15. Yeah, that's a good anecdote, man. The good old days, right? That's awesome. And
okay, next.
Tree Fitty, come on. All right, so let me show you the next 3 guys, because the next 3 all have something in common. Yeah, so the next 3 pieces are all ROM, and they all have something in common. Let's see. First one is this beauty, and once again, current owner unknown, which is weird.
I don't know.
Which is, by the way, it's weird because at one point or another, I did see this. It was out there. So, you know, I not really. Yeah, I knew you would love it, Paul. I knew this is the kind of thing that, you know, I was thinking if Paul shows up tonight, he's going to be like oohing and awing and wishing, God, why can't you have these things for sale? Why can't this be a for sale show? Because I know there's a lot of stuff here that you would want today for sure. And,
hey, Ruben, how much did you sell this for?
Oh, so let me move on before I answer that.
Oh, okay. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, let me move on to the next couple of pieces first, and then I'll tell you.
Sure.
Yeah. So that would be. So here we go. So after that one, so that was. So that's the. If you guys remember the 2-part story with the X-Men, and that was the one with the Frank Miller Milgrom inked cover. And so that's number 17, page 1. This next one is from number 17, page 30. So it's the end splash. Yeah. The first splash and then the end splash. And again, current owner unknown, which is like, come on, man. Why wouldn't anybody want to show this? And yeah, exactly, Paul. I know you want it. And unknown has the best collection out there. Exactly. That's so funny, man. And Red Jack, first page of the classic X-Men lineup. Yeah, exactly. And it's an early appearance, right? Like outside their own title, which is, of course, why it's really, really fun to see this type of stuff. And Paul, what the hell, ROM, X-Men? Yeah, man. Killer splash. Exactly. And this one's even better than the first page splash for me because you get better views of the X-Men, of course, you know? Yeah. Someone needs to really. Yeah, who knows? Maybe one particular person has a lot of this stuff for all I know. But I don't think so because I would have remembered that, you know. But yeah, cool stuff. I mean, that's so that's the first and last page splashes to the same issue. Really cool. And the last ROM piece I have is the continuation. It's number 18, so the next issue, and it is page 1. The first page splash to that issue. So the all the splashes, you know, the first, last, and then first again to ROM 17 and 18. And I should mention, as a point of interest, that these 3 pieces, and in fact, the 4 pieces. So even the splash that I first showed from number 8 that didn't have X-Men on it, all 4 of these pieces I actually owned at the exact same time. So even though most of this stuff that I'm showing, I didn't have it all at the same time. I think I had it all like within a period of like 1 to 2 years.
Wow.
Yeah, these 4 ROM pieces, I had them all at the same exact time. So, yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
and,
Paul's drooling everywhere now. His whole table's probably full. Paul's drooling everywhere. His table's filled with his saliva.
I believe it. Believe me. And Paul will tell you. He'll agree to that. Hey, Nick. Thank you, my friend. Yes, please. Anybody watching, please hit thumbs up. I appreciate it if you would. I appreciate that. Oh, sorry to hear you're under the weather, man. Wanted to say hi. Oh, okay. I hope you feel better soon, man. Get some rest. That's the best thing for you, because I know how hard it is for you to get rest, because I know you got a lot of stuff to do all the time. But lie down, drink a lot of water. It helps. I know it sounds like one of those stupid things doctors say, but it actually does, because I tried it for years and it actually does help. But thanks for stopping in, even though you're feeling unwell. And aloha, Carl. Yes, aloha means hello. It does. Why are you telling this? That did somebody not know what it meant?
And it means goodbye, right?
Yes, exactly. It's like shalom,
Yeah.
Someone put papers on the floor. I think Papa is going to have an accident. TJ, bricks and shingles. Yes. Mark says, ROM, X-Men apps. Not sure anything appreciated more. There's plenty of stuff that appreciated more, but no, it's up there for sure, Yeah, you see, he admits it. I told you he'd admit it.
Hey,
there he
it's
is.
good to know what you're doing. Yeah. So how much is this?
Oh, yeah. So let me hold on. Let me hold on. Get rid of this. There was no future for non-Byrne cockpit X Bernard. Dump them. No, exactly. It's all crap.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all crap. Dump it now. So yeah, let me come back to you. And yeah, so to answer your question, Hart, and because I'm sure people are curious, at least the people that weren't around back then. I would say I don't remember exactly. My asking prices, I can tell you for an absolute fact, I do remember that the one that I priced the highest back then was, because this, and I should tell you also, this was later. So these pieces I probably had, in other words, these are some of the more recent pieces I had, right? So I probably got rid of these in like 05, not back in like 01 or 99 or 2000. So this had already begun to appreciate. So it's not like this was $400 or whatever. The most expensive one would have been 1800. I do remember 1800 was where I wanted to max it out. I remember thinking, I'll put it at 2, and then I'm like, oh God, no, people are gonna think I'm getting greedy. Nah, I gotta stay below 2, and okay, 1800 for the best one. And I think the other 2 were probably like one for 15 and one for 16, something like that, because I wanted, since I had 3 of them, I figured, I put them in order of what I thought was best to least best. And then I figured, okay, I'll give them each a correspondingly from higher to lower price type of thing. So I think it was 18 probably, then 16 and 15, something like that. And the other one,
I would have bought those.
The non-X-Men one was probably, it might have been like 1,000 or somewhere between 800 to 1,200, somewhere like that, Yeah, so
fair prices. I gotta say, there were fair prices that you gave them.
I don't know. I mean, I think at the time they were kind of market. Like I always try to stay within that, whatever I thought was the fair market value range. I try to stay in there, and not go above, because I knew that would, going above, using that technique, right? If you're willing to, you can do it. If you're willing to wait longer to sell it. The problem is you're also being responsible for causing artificial hobby inflation. Yeah. And you're partially responsible for, the stuff's going to go up anyways without you, but you're helping to get it up there quicker when you use that technique, right? So I never wanted to use that technique because it just, I hated that, because I was still a collector too. So if I wanted to buy stuff, I knew that, by trying to hold out for a much higher price, I knew I'm hurting myself on the collecting side, you know. I'm like, I don't want to do that, you know. So I try, Paul. I try. I do. And I've always been. I am a realist. I always have tried to be. Anyways, let me check super. There you go, Nick. Yeah. So there you go. Okay. So next, let us go to what do we got here? Yes. Okay. Sorry for the non-great scans. Of course, sometimes, guys, I didn't have for a lot of the pieces. I like I mentioned in the past, I didn't have my large format scanner, so I had to make reduced size photocopies, 8.5 by 11, and scan those. But even that was better than taking a shitty photograph like so many people did. Okay, so this is another piece which, again, when I look at this, the first thing that comes to mind is like, oh yeah, okay, this was a fun little, panel page with the Hulk featuring, of course, in this story, because the stories from this series, they weren't in continuity, right? So the guest appearance by the Avengers, it's the original Avengers, right, from the early 60s. And it was fun for that reason. And I thought when I got this, I was like, oh, okay, people don't care as much for this. And really, believe it or not, it's true. Like a lot of people back in those days when I had this probably would have been 01 or 02. And in those days, this would have been like people would have been like, well, it's kind of a nice page, but yeah, it's not from the regular series. You know what I mean? And so whereas I would have wanted to price this at like maybe $250, I couldn't, because I knew nobody, being that it wasn't from the regular series, I knew nobody would bite, and so I'd have to put it at like, probably I had this one at 175, somewhere in there, or maybe I put it for 200 and somebody, would ask for a deal. Okay, 175, that kind of thing. Yeah. These days it's probably a few $1,000,
at least.
Yeah. Which is, again, it's hard for me to reconcile. It's just bizarre, because again, it's the prices that I bought and sold them for that immediately comes to mind when I look at them. It's not current values, so it's like,
right,
man. And not only with people, yes, Brian, absolute awesome cover. Absolutely. It had a great cover for sure. But yeah, I lost my train of thought, but I was going to say something about not only would people complain that, oh, it's not from the regular issue.
The regular series, yeah.
But you know what? That's how it was in those days. In those days, and I don't know if you remember this, Hart. In those days, to keep with the same sort of line of thinking that a lot of the collectors had back then, it was like, oh, this is a cover from an annual? Ugh, it's from an annual. It's not as good, Oh, yeah, you can't ask that much for it. It's from the annual. It's not the regular series. You know what I mean? It's like, what? And I used to think,
I'm sure the Electric Company covers or interiors would be the same kind of feeling for some collectors. They'd be like, it's Electric Company. It's not the regular stuff.
Yeah.
Even though it has Spidey on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That was harder to sell. Absolutely. It was like, oh, okay, kind of specialty stuff, It's like, yeah, it's specialty stuff. Yeah, that's how it was known as, so here we go. Power Man Iron Fist number 53, a Sal Mooney piece. See, again, this it's interesting in the way that people will think once a hobby begins to grow large enough. Back when I owned this piece, of course, the first thing people would say was like, oh yeah, but Power Man and Iron Fist, they're so small. Misty Knight's the largest character on it. So, this is crap. And I'm not even joking. That was pretty much what people would say. And, and of course they still want it, but it was a way to sort of say like, and not that they're wrong about, yes, the characters being small. Of course that's true. But it's funny how today nobody would care. Like today, you put this out on an auction or whatever, you get plenty of people bidding this up to the moon.
Well, Mark Levy would buy this. Mark Levy would totally buy this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's. Paul says,
Mark loves this
really?
stuff.
I love that,
So
Mr. Headlight cell. Yeah, I mean, no, but I think these days it's more about. I mean, there was so many less people back then that it made this stuff from the 70s and 80s much more plentiful.
Yeah.
How did you keep her top on and fight then? Yeah, I don't know, but I think the straps, the side straps that go around the back, I think it's there. It's in the shadow. That's what the shadow is.
Or they've got spidey webbing.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Yeah. Something.
And it says, much rather have the girl in the bikini on the foreground. You see what I'm saying? How things have changed. I used to get ridiculed for collecting Al Hartley and Bill Wogan art. Not so much now. Oh yeah, I mean, Carl, you know, 20 years ago that stuff was like absolute shit. And let's be honest. Even today, a lot of people will just say, "Oh, that's shit," because it's not superheroes, right? But back then, way more than now, way more. It's more about the composition and story. Well, certainly that's a bigger part of it. A lot of today's collectors do look at that kind of thing. Industrial strength halter top, yeah. But it's true. Like there's many more collectors now. So anybody, sure, there's still people who would say, "Oh, but look how small those heroes are," blah blah blah, right? But whereas once upon a time, that 70s and 80s stuff used to be plentiful, 20 years ago, 15, 17 years ago, it still was. The hobby has grown so much and collectors have absorbed so much of that stuff that it's actually kind of rare. Like that's why this stuff goes so high, because any random piece of 70s art, even with a cult favorite like Power Man Iron Fist, rather than a big favorite like a Spidey or Batman or whatever, right? They'll bid it up to the moon, because they're not what you call plentiful anymore like they once were,
Right. Yeah.
So, and for a piece like for a piece like this, right? People nowadays, most of them think, well, while you still have that segment that'll say, the heroes are too small, there's many more people that are thinking, oh, cool, a PMIF splash. Right? That's all they think. Oh, PMIF splash from the late 70s. Cool. Bid. So that takes precedence now, Okay, so this one, everybody's going to know. Well, I think a lot of you are going to know this one, because this one has been around. But the shocking thing is that once again, it currently is unknown who the owner is, which is, again, bizarre. Because it had been around even on CAF, I do remember even seeing it at auction, So yeah, I really it freaks me out. I really don't know what to say about why none of this stuff seems to appear anymore. Old school feel, yeah. And of course, Paul, beautiful splash, yeah, for sure. I mean. I don't know if you meant the last one or this one, but yeah, it's a fun one for sure, And because it was Sal Buscema rather than John or Perez from that time period, it was much cheaper. I mean, I think when I sold this was probably around 2005. I want to say 2005. I want to say I probably sold this somewhere between 600 to 800. Yeah, 600 to 800 somewhere era. And another thing I remember pretty clearly is that it took a while to sell. I remember it sat on the site for some time. But honestly, I could say that for quite a bit of these pieces that I've been showing. But again, a lot of it had to do with just simply the size of the market. The size of the market was just that small. That's why I mentioned last week, I think it was, when I was talking about, the size of the market. And I said, somebody was asking, did you think that, was it the same people sort of always buying and trading amongst themselves, or was it widespread? And back then, a lot of the stuff was a lot of the good stuff. In other words, covers, splashes. If they're Marvel, especially Marvel and DC, but especially Marvel, from the bigger titles, especially. Yep, it was quite often the same 20 to 30 guys buying most of it. Yeah, so there you go. And yes, exactly. Hart is the Invisible Man. He never left. He just was using his powers to show you in honor of that nice large backside image of the Invisible Woman, of course.
It's all about composition. Her composition.
Yes, exactly. All right, so let us check out the next one, guys. Okay, so you Hulkamaniacs out there would maybe appreciate this. So this piece, check it out. So this piece came from that classic run, part of the Sal run that Ernie Chan inked, which has a lot of fans. And so some of you might be wondering and asking, okay, but around this time, weren't you collecting Hulk art? So yes, I was. Well, okay. So I in 2004, I started selling off the Hulk collection. I did buy this while I still was collecting the Hulk art. And I initially bought it for my collection, but then I thought, you know what? I really wanted to focus on buying the what I felt to be the best of the best splashes and covers, especially from the Sal run, the ones that I like the best. And, you know, clearly this was not one of the best, even though it's a great artistic team up with Buscema Chan. The fact that it's mostly just the beautiful machinery and, you know, the characters are you know, the size of your pinky nail, that disqualified it from being one of the better, best of the best type splash. So that's why for this I said, okay, you know what, this I'll just put in my inventory. And yeah, that's basically why that ended up as an inventory piece and not really in my collection. Exactly, Tiny Hulk. Exactly, Mark. Yes, exactly. You see what I'm saying, guys? Now, Chan was the man. Absolutely. All right, Mark. Catch you later, man. Thank you for stopping in.
See you, Mark.
Yes, not Falcon enough. Exactly. Carl says, does it matter if original art has dialogue or not? Personally, I love having dialogue. Well, it doesn't matter. It just matters to each individual. You just have to understand, up to a certain point in time in the 90s, right? It had the dialogue. Then when it went digital, they stopped having the dialogue. So that's all really what it comes down to, you know? So just to say one quick thing about that Hulk splash, even though you guys, of course, you're saying the same thing I said, which was the reason why it became an inventory piece, not a collection piece. The truth is, though, you guys know as well as I do, if that piece popped up today at auction, it would still get bid up to like a healthy amount for no other reason than people would be excited just to say, oh, it's a splash from the Hulk run from the Sal Chan era. You know, it's just for that reason alone. People would still bid it up. I mean, I don't know how much, but I know it would be over 1,000. I don't know how much more than that, but I know it would still be a four-figure piece just because it's Sal Chan, you know, from that era, and it's a splash. And as small as he is, the Hulk is still there in a full figure. For that reason, those reasons alone, I know people would bid it up. You know,
and plus it's got tech on it, so some people collect that tech thing. Like Kirby Tech is popular, so yeah, sure. Sal and Chan.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let us move on to the next one. So yeah, so these are a couple of the cheaper pages. I guess this is what I just wanted to have some Byrne art from Wolverine, and so I grabbed a couple of pages from his first issue, and even though, of course, he was only doing breakdowns and Janson was doing finishes, I did like this page because of the fact that Klaus still did a good enough job to where, as different as his style is to Byrne's, you can still immediately tell those first two panels are very Byrne-ish. You can tell that it's Byrne, but obviously with Klaus doing the finishes, you know. But yeah, just a way to get some Byrne into the inventory. And oh, sorry, Marcus, is Sal Chan related to Ford Chan? Could be. Red Jack, you are right. CJ design that takes your eye right to it instead of the characters. Okay. Oh yeah, because he was saying the machine setup is amazing, right? So, yeah, there you go. But okay, let us go to the next one. It's also from, I believe, the same issue. And that one is no Wolverine, but it was cool just to have a Byrne example of another popular Marvel character, Daredevil. And this one is a rarity in the collection of a well-known collector, Thomas van der Stappen. And so that's pretty cool to see. And I'm not positive, but I think Thomas, he might have been the guy who bought it from me. I may have sold it to him. So if it is, and Thomas, if you're ever watching this, reach out to me and let me know if it was me who sold it to you.
Is Thomas a DD Daredevil fan? Is that?
I don't really remember if that was his sort of specialty, if you will. I don't know.
I'll have to look at his calf site again.
Why do you ask, though?
No, I just I thought I had remembered that Thomas has bought other Daredevil stuff, but you know what? Mistaken.
It may be him. It kind of rings a bell to me, but you'll have to check. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so let us go. Sticking with Byrne, there's another Byrne piece or two or a few. So the next one is this. All right, so it's Hulk 315. It's from the second issue. I thought it was a really nice page. And I bought this, yes, at the same time again that I was collecting Hulk art. But once again, because of the fact that I was focusing, I really wanted to focus on getting the best of the best covers and splashes. I would buy panel pages occasionally, but because I really wanted to save my money for whenever covers and splashes came up, I didn't get too many panel pages. And because ultimately I didn't accumulate many panel pages of notes, that kind of made me think, you know what, at a certain point I was like, you know what, I don't know, it just doesn't seem to fit the collection, which is really emphasizing splashes and covers. And so that's why I ultimately ended up saying, you know what, I'll just, I can let it go. I love it. I mean, it's beautiful. I love the artwork and it's got nice Hulk images, but the fact that I had a, nice enough covers and splashes that really sort of blew away the panel pages. It was easier for me to say, okay, you know what, I'll stay focused on that stuff, And Rick says, would love to own this page. Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of people would love to own this page. For sure. Hey, Ronald, good to see you, my friend. And I mean, look, this it's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 panel page. You got Byrne Hulk in 3 out of the 4 panels. Who, again, today, who wouldn't want it? Of course, that would be a great page, at auction. That would, I don't know what it would sell for today. I don't know. I'm guessing $3-4 grand or something. But I'm guessing. I don't really pay close attention, right? But yes, Hart. Let me know.
Higher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Just because it's Hulk and it's Byrne, so you're really hitting that sweet spot, and it's got so much Hulk in it that I would even say, a 5,000 to 6,000 kind of range there.
Really?
My guesstimate, but it's a good one. I mean, it is good.
Okay, well, here's one last look, everybody. Anybody in the chat wanna take your own guesses and let us know what you think? Yeah, let us know. But all right, let's go on to the next one. Why don't we check out this next one, which is we're staying with Byrne, and this is a Byrne splash, and this is another one that Polly P would love. Well, I'm sure this is one that a lot of people would love, right, Hart? What do you think?
Yeah, headlights, Mark Levy. But yeah,
Mark is gone now. Unfortunately, he missed out the headlights, I guess.
Yeah, he did. But it's got all the points that you want in a Byrne She-Hulk, and of course now the She-Hulk is popular with her series on Netflix. It just makes it even better. And it's got I want to say Titania. Is that her name?
Yeah, Titania.
Yeah. Okay. So that's So and who inks it? Do you know by chance?
Oh, I believe it was just him.
Oh, okay. Even better.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I mean, if somebody knows for a fact, please let us know. Stevie B, enjoyed seeing these older offerings, but time for some Sunday night TV viewing with the wife. Sounds good. Thanks for tuning in, Stevie B. Appreciate you, man. Have a good night. Yeah, and he's going. So not so nice is going back to Thomas saying that he had posted that in 2006. No, exactly. And I noticed that at the time. So it's possible that he still got it from me, posted it later, or he got it from the person who got it from me. Who knows?
Thanks, Mike.
But yeah. So anyway, I love this one, and this one's owned by Enrico Salvini, an old friend from Italy, and yeah, I funnily enough, this particular piece, I remember I didn't sell it. I don't remember the exact price I had it for at the time, but it was somewhere in between $500 and $750. Probably, I don't know, maybe 600, something in there. And here, you want to hear? Here's the best part. It wasn't selling. And so therefore, I ultimately accepted a trade, and I traded it for inventory, not even stuff for my collection. I figured inventory for inventory. I traded it with Enrico for some G.I. Joe and or Transformers pages. And because at the time, I mean, I wanted to have that type of stuff for inventory, because in those days you never used to see that stuff, and I knew that there would be people who wanted them. They weren't worth anything, G.I. Joe, both G.I. Joe and Transformers were worth like, $75 a page. Nobody cared. But I figured, whatever, I'll try to make a market for them. I'll take them at a $75 trade value, and I'll put them on my site eventually for like $1.25, that kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Make $50 on them, whatever it is, Yeah. So it was an interesting way to sort of move that piece. And think about how different that is to today, like you would have whoever owns it, like obviously Enrico at this point would never have any trouble moving it, let alone needing to trade it for something ridiculous as, okay, I guess I'll take more inventory for this kind of thing, And Marcus, yes, the Muffin Man, indeed. It is the Muffin Man. Enrico the Muffin Man. And so cheap. Well, yeah, it's all based on your perspective, right? It's all relative. So
all relative. Yeah.
Stanley, the answer is no. No. And I'll tell you, the reason is no is because, again, I some of them I feel, it would be nice to have that again. But at the values of those days, sure. But at today's values, no. I long ago, and I mean like years ago, I've been telling everybody for a long time, I've been collecting down for years now. So I've been priced out of everything I collected pretty much since the beginning. I collect something for a little while, a couple of years, few years, and then, I can't afford it anymore. So I think, the hell with this. I'll look for something else. A less popular character, less popular title, less popular artist, whatever, And so, no, I feel like the art hasn't gotten any better than it was then, right? The art hasn't changed. So my outlook is, no, once it's gone, it's gone. And again, you look at it and part of your nostalgia kicks in and you're like, wow, it'd be fun to have that again, but not so fun that personally I would go out and spend 10 grand or whatever that She-Hulk splash would cost today. I don't know what it would, sell for, but whatever it is, it's way more than I have interest in ever paying to own something again, Especially
what about your Tom Grummett fixation?
What about it?
Well, do you spend a lot of money on Tom's stuff? I mean,
no.
would you?
No, because the stuff because Tom's stuff, and this was 50% of the reason why. Okay, I got I got outpriced on whatever it was that I was collecting at that point. So let's say I started focusing on Tom's work in 2016, right? So 6 years ago. I'd always loved it, right? But I was always focused on other things. So whenever I would get some in, I would just keep it as part of my inventory. A few pieces I would keep and some would go to inventory because I felt like, okay, I love Tom's stuff. And even as the dealer part of me, as I keep saying, I wanted to always sell the same type of stuff I love to collect, right? Because it helps me try to introduce guys the art that I think is fun to other people. So that's why I wanted to sell Tom's art as well, right? But no. So from 2016 onwards, part of the reason I started focusing, I said, okay, I'll collect that, is because half of it was, okay, I can't collect, so much of this stuff is getting way out of whack with the prices. So what am I going to collect now? I need something. I'm so sick of the prices that keep going up, 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 up. I want to collect something. And it was taking the fun away. This is what I have to mention, right? A lot of the fun was being sucked out of the hobby for me, okay, because of the ever constant rising prices. It really does take the fun out of it, even when I can afford it. And I want to make this a very clear point. Even when I can afford art, okay, when it costs thousands per piece to buy, I have to admit, I buy it, and then I just kind of, part of me, like, I like it, but I find it harder to enjoy knowing how much, like, it costs me. The fact that I spend $3, $4, $5,000 or whatever it costs me, it just takes a lot of the fun away from it. And because I used to think, well, I was around back when, I was buying things that were costing me $75 for panel pages, $150 for a splash page. And that, it was the kind of stuff that gave me a lot of enjoyment. Like, it gave me just as much enjoyment as, let's say, a cover or splash from the Hulk, let's say Hulk, that I used to own. You understand? And I know people can't really sort of make sense of that today these days. I think people, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah. I remember like some of these pieces that you see here, right? Especially some of the panel pages. I don't know if we're going to see it tonight. I think it's later tonight. There's like a Justice League page. I got it for less than $100, and it was like a Silver Age page. I just loved it. I loved it, and that gave me just as much enjoyment as the Hulk stuff did when I had that, right? So then, as years go by, I'm like, it's frustrating to see this stuff get higher and higher and higher. I'm like, the stuff that keeps going higher, and it's now costing me thousands a piece. I realized it doesn't give me, 5 or 10 times the enjoyment that this stuff over here that I can still get for $150 a piece does.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. And so that's why I'd just be like, whatever, what now? What do I really love in terms of who's an artist I love and it's still cheap? And let me tell you, in 2016, even by then, there wasn't many people, there wasn't many people on the list. So then I realized, oh yeah, so what titles was I reading? And then I realized, okay, so let me come back to Tom. Always loved him. Often wished I could hang on to all his stuff, even the stuff that I was dealing away as part of my inventory. So you know what? His stuff is still cheap compared to everybody else, or almost everybody else. So like, I'm going to focus on Tom's stuff. And I loved his style so much. Like, it just made me happy. I would look at his stuff. And this is what I tell everybody when they're like, why do you love it so much? It's hard to explain. All I know is when I look at his stuff, it makes me happy, And so part of it was I wanted not only to collect an artist that was still cheap, but 50% of it, well, it was an artist that I loved, first of all, but also I wanted to be able to collect art that was still cheap. And in 2016, I was still able to get new Titans, pages from his new Titans run, which was the first series he did, after breaking in with like a couple of one-shot issues. And I could get that stuff for like anywhere from $75 to $150 on average for panel pages in 2016, So I'm like, shit, I'll buy this stuff up all day long. Like, you know what I mean? And then I went and I reread all his new Titans run. I was like, oh man, that was good. Some of it was, like anything else in a 3-year-long run, some of it, yeah. But I really enjoyed it. And I'm like, man, and it reminded me how much I enjoyed his art. So I said, I'm not going to just focus on the Titans. I'll just focus on anything, Tom, as long as it looks good and I like it, and it's still it's very affordable compared to everything else. So that's why I stuck to that, And Paul Pappas says, I hear you, Ruben. I like it at this price. I love it at this price. Yeah, exactly. It makes it easier, And Caesar says, Grummett was underpriced 6 years ago and pre-pandemic. Yeah, exactly. Now prices have caught up to him. Exactly. So even that, Caesar, and everybody else who's wondering, even that, I'm getting to the point where it's kind of like, again, can I afford it? because I don't want people, to say like, oh, you're being a hypocrite. You could still afford it. Yes, I'm not saying I can't afford it, right? But I've always said there's a difference between, being able to afford something and actually spending the money. Like, just because you can afford it doesn't mean you should continue to collect because you have the money, right? Like it just, when the fun starts getting sucked out of it because of the money, right? Because of the fact that, oh, well, like Caesar's saying, right? Just to give you an example, Hart, and to everybody else wondering, right? In 2016, when I began focusing on Tom's stuff, right? So if a page, let's say that I was getting $75 to $150 back then, right? Today is, I don't know, oftentimes $400 to $800, and it's kind of like, okay, newer collectors that have only been in the last few years, they'll think about that and they'll say $400 to $800 per piece, and that's it. Like, oh, I can afford that easily. I wish what I bought cost that much, but it's relative, right? It's relative. It's I can't see it that way when I was only just a few short years ago paying $75 to $150. That's what I'm saying, right? So $150 pages, $800 or $600 or even $500. It's like, I'll say this: I'm still buying and paying those today's prices, but I will admit I'm at that point where I think I'm getting close to finishing because I don't want to pay these prices anymore, and I've mentioned it in previous episodes where I'm absolutely much closer to the end of my collecting days than to the beginning. This could be it. If I decide I'm going to stop grommet collecting, this could be it. I'm not sure, I we'll see, but I'm getting close to that point where it's like, oh man, his stuff it's not cheap anymore. You know what I mean? So once again, I feel like it's not yeah, you know what I mean anyways. Yeah.
Yeah,
Caesar,
I do.
my Robin 1 cover was under 2K. Caesar, let me know when you got that, by the way, out of curiosity. Because that's because under 2K means it's still close to 2K. That seems like it wasn't really all that long ago. So I'm curious. Let me know when you got that. Yeah, exactly. Well, it's a score now, but I don't know if, and let me know also, Caesar, if you think that you felt it was cheap at the time or, because of what his stuff always sold for, which was cheap, but that's what you're used to. So maybe you felt, okay, it just went for what it was worth at the time. Or maybe you felt a little bit cheap because it was a #1 cover, perhaps, Titans Hunt, baby. Yeah. They got to collect that. Just because you can, exactly, doesn't mean you should. Exactly,
Mike. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Hart. I feel like you've been wanting to say something for a bit, and I just kept.
No, it belongs. It just means that you are accustomed, and myself both, to the prices from the 1990s and that era, right? So to us, that's when we're like, okay, we can pay that price. Nowadays, the younger crowd or younger collectors, should I say, they can see the $400 to $600 as the norm that they can afford.
Right.
But if they look at $1,000, they're going to say, "Oh my God, that's too far."
Right.
But for us, you and I, we see a $400, we're like, okay, I don't want to spend that $400 because it's getting up there. So I have to figure out: do I really want this, and am I going to be very happy with it? And that's where you're coming from. Is your happiness is what your collection should be, and it reflects that, right? The monetary value doesn't mean anything to anybody, really, realistically. Right. I mean, we can all afford Kirby, we can afford Buscema, we can afford Win Mortimer, or whoever from 1970s and so forth. But it all depends on what gives us the happiness of owning that piece. Yeah. Is it because it's the one that we read from the 7-Eleven spinner rack, or is it the one that we bought from the local comic shop, or your granddad gave you, whatever?
Yeah,
so
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
And I agree with you. That is, the happiness can be sucked out of a lot of the things in our collecting habits.
Right. So Caesar says, okay, so he thought it was cheap considering it was #1. Okay, but I still bet you it wasn't that cheap. Like if it was cheap, yeah, exactly, because it was a #1. Even then, maybe you thought, like, so under 1.5K. Right. So at the time, though, if you got it for under 1.5K, you probably would have been thinking, ooh, for a pretty cheap for a number one issue. I would think that as a number one issue, that probably should have been at least like a solid $2,000 cover kind of thing, which still very affordable compared to every other artist out there back in those days, Can
I ask Caesar a question?
Yeah, of course.
Caesar, do you love that cover? Do you really love that cover, or are you thinking of it as a investment? You can answer or don't answer. It's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, I know Caesar, and Caesar's been around probably as long as you and I have, and I know he's always loved the stuff he has. He's always been pretty hardcore with what he collects, and he has sold stuff like almost everybody, but
we all have.
He keeps stuff, Yeah, exactly. So interesting that so he says, so Superboy covers one of me. It's interesting though. I really wish you could remember off the top of your head what year it was. And of course he says he loves the cover. Of course you do. I wish I could remember. I wish you could remember what year you got it, Caesar, because I myself, the Superboy covers were running me that same range. They were going in the 5 to 7 range, but even as recently as around 216, like when I began to focus and said, okay, I'm going to focus on collecting Tom's art. I remember that year picking up a few covers for 500 to 700, the exact range, because that's exactly what they tended to go for. It was almost like you could count on it, like ballpark, like on the nose. That's kind of where it always fell into, which was not much more. And that was, again, that for me, I remember 2016 at least as recently as that. And just to show you how slowly Tom's art appreciated compared to everybody else's, right? So when I was selling some of Tom's covers back in the day when I wasn't focused on his art, so I could go back to between the 2004 to 2007 era, I was selling Tom's Superboy covers back then for like clockwork, $400. There wasn't even a range. It was never 4, 350, 5. No, I got one. It was 400, and that's what it sold for, And so think about it: 400 as recently as 2007, and then 2016. So 9 years later, a decade had gone by, and they barely had moved. They had gone up 25 to 50%, which is nothing, especially on a $400 piece, right?
Right.
So,
well, I do remember a similar artist, Ron Frenz. Frenz is the same way. He was in the low ball market. I mean, 150 to 200 for his panel pages. But then all of a sudden, in the past, I think 2 years, it's been jumping to 1,000, 1,500. It has to do with Sinnott inking him, but it's still Ron Frenz. People didn't think of Ron Frenz as a great artist. I'm not saying he's not a great artist. I'm saying that they didn't value him at that point.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
They wanted John Romita or whoever, senior or whatever.
Right. The only exception to that back in the day was Amazing Spider-Man, but that was only because there was so much demand for anything from Amazing Spider-Man, right? So that was the main thing. I'm happy. Sorry, go ahead.
No. I was talking about. I didn't mention Thor panel pages. Thor has been rising like crazy now.
So that was what I was just going to say. So I'm happy to finish the sentence I started. I'm happy to mention that in the last couple of years, especially. Well, happy is kind of a weird word to say because I did want to start collecting, and then I again got priced out immediately. But yeah, you're right. They were cheap for many years, right? Long periods of time. And then finally, but again, it makes sense because finally people realize, oh, well, shit, that run was 30 years old. It's 30 years old, whatever, 32 years old now, right? But over the last couple of years, they're like, people started realizing, well, the Thor Frenz Sinnott run, especially, it's fantastic because everybody loved what an amazing sort of homage it was to the Jack Kirby era, right?
Right.
And unfortunately, even though everybody I've spoken to who was around back in that day and read it, buying it off the stands, everybody to a man remembers loving it, and including me. I remember really enjoying that stuff, both story-wise and artistically, and I've been saying for the last couple of years that, when people say, is there anything undervalued? There's nothing left undervalued. And well, a couple of years ago, I was still saying, Ron Frenz, Thor, mark my words, if you ever liked that and you thought, hey, maybe I should get one, but blew it off because you figured, I can always get one, start getting it now, because it's one of the few sort of runs that people are going to soon remember as, it's a whole generation ago. And that was a pretty classic run, right? And more importantly, it gets overshadowed. It has always been overshadowed because it was preceded immediately by the classic Simonson run. You see? So that's why it got overshadowed, right? Because anybody ever talks about is, the Simonson Thor run. In the 80s, you think Thor, Simonson Thor run, right? But when you think about it, everybody loved it. It's just, to me, it's one of the most amazing stretches from any character or title in comic book superhero history, to think that it's not just the Simonson run, it's really Simonson to the end of the Frenz run, because everybody loves that. It got overshadowed, but people loved it. Everybody loved it. So it's probably the only title I can think of where, like, it's had what you can now classify as two classic back-to-back runs. Literally back-to-back, And so those pages have been skyrocketing too in the last couple of years, especially, And I must say, I myself did purchase a couple of pieces from that run in the past, year, and I paid more than anyone's paid for those panel pages, by the way, I've paid more or as much. Nobody's ever paid more than I've paid for the 2 pages I bought. So I was willing to pay the price only because I was like, you know what, this stuff, I always knew it was great. And I did keep putting it off. I got to get something from it, And what I got was, I got one, I don't know if many people remember, but I got one page that's from what I call the Kirby part of the run, right? Where he's homaging Kirby. Right. But a lot of people don't remember that at a certain point, I don't know if it's 2 or 3 years into that homaging Kirby, he lets that go, and he starts doing a John Buscema, Joe Sinnott homage.
Right.
And so there's some issues where it just looks like beautiful Buscema Sinnott. So I got one page from each of those parts of the run, So I was okay, whatever. I'll pay the price, whatever I got to pay. It's only 2 pages. I'll bite the bullet. But I'm happy to pay a lot only because I knew in my head I'm happy to only buy 2 pages. It's not something where I'm going to collect these Frenz pages from the Thor run, because at what they're selling for now, no, I don't want to keep accumulating that stuff. It's like no.
Yeah, I do remember I had a piece of art that was a John Romita Sr. inked by Frenz, and I took it to Senior for a signature, and Romita Sr. said he loved Frenz's inking. He said he was one of the greats as far as inking in his style. So, it not only was he a good penciler, but an inker too. So he just had a full range of things.
Right.
And from, coming from Romita Sr., that's a really good kudos.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys, let us go on to the next one. And I'm going to start flipping through these quicker now. And so this is in Fred's collection. And yes, that is the name. If you want to catch it on CAF, you have to look up, I guess, under the letter C for collection. And this was just kind of fun because, of course, it was this sort of ripoff of the Fantastic Four type thing almost, and just weird and wacky though. Funny though that at the time that I had this, again, because even though it's Byrne, just for the sake of the fact that there was so many less collectors in the hobby back then, this was considered a crappy cover because because content-wise, well, there's no West Coast Avengers on it, right? And to be honest, and I'm gonna say this, and I don't, no offense meant to Fred, okay, but for me, nothing has changed since back then, since I had it and I sold it, right? Content-wise, to me, that is a crap cover. Like, and to most people, maybe they feel bad sort of saying it out loud. But again, we value things based on the quality of the content. If it's a team book, the higher quality content means you have to have more characters from that team on it, right? So when you have a character team book and the cover has 0 members, that's down on the totem pole of content quality. But again, the nice thing about that these days is with so many more people and so much larger market, it doesn't matter anymore. That kind of stuff, people still respect it nowadays. Like back then, they didn't respect it. It was like garbage. No, you got no Avengers on it. Crap. I'm not interested. And yeah, that's one example. I did not sell right away. That sat on my site for a little while because of those reasons, Yeah. So it's nice. One of the benefits of seeing a hobby grow is you see stuff that, and a lot of this stuff that I'm showing tonight falls in this category where a lot of this stuff was considered just low end crap. And these days, it's nice to know that people are given much more respect and think, well, it's still a cover from that era, and the Byrne art is still really nice from that era. They still enjoy it and appreciate it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So that's it. Let me just headlights do sell, but whose headlights are you talking about? Where did we see headlights?
The lady in the back.
Oh, okay. Mr. Immortal just made his debut on She-Hulk. Really? Interesting. I haven't watched it yet, so interesting. Okay, thanks for the heads up on that, Marcus. Okay, so let us look at the next one. Marvel Saga number 3. As everybody or a lot of you guys know, a Marvel Saga cover recently made it to CAF by Mr. Bill Johnson. This one, to me, was always my favorite, or at least certainly one of my favorites. I don't really remember. I haven't looked at the series in a long time, so I can't remember if there was other ones. I remember at the time owning this, thinking that, oh yeah, this is one of my favorites, or if not the best one, or whatever. Just because it is Frenz, as you guys see, but of course, Byrne did a really nice job. You can tell by looking at Namor, the Submariner. You look at that, and it looks like Frenz with Byrne inks.
Right.
But almost everywhere else, it's just a lot more. It looks like you would have believed it was just Byrne by himself,
The Doom mask really shows it. Yeah.
The Doom mask, exactly. Yeah. The Thing at the top there, and on the left-hand side, the Hulk at the bottom with Rick Jones, But
I love that Hulk at the bottom.
Yeah. I just like classic scenes from very classic early key Marvel issues, Yeah, exactly, Marcus. Good Silver Age content. Exactly. I mean, you got Fantastic Four 5, the first Doom. You got the Hulk number 1, Amazing Fantasy 15. So yeah, it's pretty great stuff. And what are you saying here, Ricky? Friends skipped right past the Frazetta. Yeah, I know. I was like, you know what? We got to speed this up. I'm not going to show Frazetta. That's what I figured. All right. So just really quick to show you guys, to remind you, for those of you who may not have seen it other than in the comic book format, this is what it looked like. And real quick, just to show you this, guys. If anybody knows, let me know if you remember seeing this. Marcus, by any chance, you're always my go-to guy with the good memory for stuff like this. Hart and I were talking. We were wondering. He doesn't think so, but I kind of feel like I have a vague memory that DC might have published a Who's Who in Star Trek. Is that possible? Because that's what I could see this being a part of. Hart doesn't remember a Who's Who in Star Trek. I kind of do, but I could be wrong. Absolutely. It was a long time ago, but it's just cool to see John Byrne doing Star Trek. And it's a scene from one of the episodes. I forget the name of the episode because I'm not that big of a Trekkie. Yeah, I just thought at the time when I owned this, it was weird to see Star Trek by John Byrne, So yeah, still in the bees, baby. Still in the bees. Exactly. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody knows what's out there. All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it anyways. But does it, out of curiosity, does it look familiar at all to you, Marcus, or is this like the first time that you're seeing this? Yeah, because like that silicon-based creature. Yeah, I forget. Like I said, it's really based out of a scene out of this one episode. I forget the name of it.
It's the episode where Spock mind melds with the creature. So it's a famous one. You're right.
First time. Okay, cool. Thanks, man. And maybe even this one. Yeah, I didn't find it, Rick. I didn't find it myself. I looked for it. I didn't find it. So I don't know. But who knows? Something like this, if the owner also still doesn't know where it's from, it's very possible. Like, who knows how they would have listed it, what they would have written for a title. Oh, Caesar nice.
Says, yeah.
Nice, baby. Yes, DC did a Star Trek Who's Who. Cool, man. All right. I appreciate it. And Mickey, what is up, Mickey? Yes, there was a... Yes, okay. Exactly. Who's Who Star Trek. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it. And there were 2 issues. Excellent. Okay. So there you go. Maybe that's what this is from. Who knows? Yeah. So whoever the owner is out there, if you're ever watching this one day on Rewind, yeah, there's a tip. Look for the Star Trek Who's Who issues, and hopefully you'll find it in there. Okay, so next one. Yes, this is Rick out of one of those out of order ones, because at the time I thought when I first put it together, I thought it was Chan, and then I had to check it up and realized that it was Kwapisz who penciled it or whatever. Nothing much to say here other than I was always a Chan over Buscema fan, always a Conan fan. But here, this was just a beautiful architectural rendering. So to me, this is why I bought it. I didn't care to keep it for myself, but I was like, I will often buy stuff just for if I find the art is a beautiful piece of architectural illustration, and that's kind of why I bought this one. So, Maki Pupu, yeah, exactly. It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, and as some of you guys know, that's why I bought that tree page from the Swamp Thing, the last issue of the Swamp Thing number 16 with the tree and the roots. That's the kind of thing I like. So architecture, trees, if it's beautifully illustrated, yeah, sometimes I like to buy that kind of stuff. And Ian takes a break from the football game to say, you love stair pieces. Okay, cool. Yeah. Good to see. I'm not the only one who likes this kind of stuff. And Marcus says 1980. Whoa, what are you talking about, Marcus? See, that's the thing with this. Oh, the Who's Who? Oh, yeah. Was it that far back? Oh, wow, man. Okay, I would have thought early 90s, but okay. Yeah, there you go. Thanks, man. Appreciate the little investigative journalism. And Jason, what do you say? Can't stay to the end tonight? No worries. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you coming in, man. Have a good week. And okay, so it's in Joe's. Oh, so Joe Murray, all comic art by John Byrne. Okay, good. I'm assuming he doesn't know what it's from. Rick, does he list what it's from, or he doesn't know? He probably doesn't know. Let me know. Or maybe reach out to him on my behalf if you don't mind. Send him a quick message through CAF and let him know what it is. Or actually, we don't know unless we check it out. So yeah, we have to find out ourselves. All right. Okay, guys, let me jump ahead again to Gary Kwapisz. Another splash. Yeah, and then this again is just because, again, I thought it was Chan. I thought it was Chan over Chan, and it was a splash, and I like Conan, so I figured I'd just a nice splash to Conan splash to offer collectors. And so that was it. So there you go. There are actually, believe it or not, a few Gary Kwapisz fans out there I've seen over the last year or two that actually like to collect his work. Rick, Who's Who with Star Trek, number 1, page 28, the Hart has. Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you so much. Thanks, pal. Awesome. See, I love that. You guys, that's what I'm saying. You guys in the chat, all my friends in the chat are always the best, man. Like if I don't know something, there's always somebody in here that knows it. So I love it. Thank you guys, and thanks for doing the legwork to check that out for me. I appreciate it. Awesome. I'm glad he knows. All right, so this one is again, I think another Gary Kwapisz piece, a double page splash, a really cool one. So this is now. I will say, even at the time, I remember at the time that I picked this up, I love it for what's there. So in other words, I love the content. In other words, the idea that okay, it's Conan at the top of the wall, with the spiked giant fence, fighting off a horde of zombie warriors, if you will. However, even back then when I owned it, I was like, man, the Kwapisz pencils are so stiff. I mean, the Conan figures just stiff as hell. So never a big fan of the art from that perspective. But yeah, all the zombie hordes, I always that made up for it. So this was something that could I have afforded to keep everything I was buying for inventory. I would have, as a Conan fan, I would have loved to have kept this. Very much, very fun. And Marcus, what are you saying? So someone needs to commission more Hordas. Yeah. Well, they do commission. What's his name? What the hell's that character with the tiny legs and the giant head?
Bobbleheads.
Whatever. These guys know what I'm talking about. Anyways, let me move on here, guys. To Power Man Iron Fist 95. So here we go with Chan. So this was pure Chan. Pencil and inker. Again, I was always a fan of Power Man and Iron Fist. In particular, I love this book because I like the sort of witty banter between them. At the time, it was Luke Cage who was always, the jokester, while Iron Fist was the straight man. Right? They played him as, this is the guy who was living in Kunlun, for so many years, and so he doesn't really know. He's not streetwise. He doesn't know the ways of Earth or whatever, because he had grown up there in Kunlun, and right. So he didn't get joking around and whatever. In recent years, though, as people who have been reading Iron Fist series, what I like is Iron Fist himself has become the jokester. He's the one who's cracking jokes all the time and being sarcastic when he's fighting and stuff. So I kind of like that. So before we move on, yes, exactly. Yeah, I know I can always count on Marcus. Thanks, Marcus. Yeah, MODOK, exactly. And there's more than one person that likes to collect the sketches of a character like MODOK. So, Hortas, the Hortas, they're not too far behind MODOK, in the pantheon of, I don't even want to say the word in case there are big MODOK fans in the audience. But let's just call it the not so important characters. Yeah, and keep it that way. Lewis and Martin. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like that. Okay, so from this splash, let us go to this one. And this is another Ernie Chan over Ernie Chan. Again, for the same reasons. Although I have to say, I was buying it because I figured, it's another splash from this fun series that I used to really like reading a lot. But at the same time, I really loved the bridge. I really, really loved the how solid it feels. It feels and looks like an actual bridge. All the texture put into it by the inking, and it really looks like it's metal. So yeah, he sold it. Ernie sold it really well, and so really loved it more for that reason. And this, guys, is another example for those who weren't back around in the hobby in these days. When I had this would have been what was considered a shit splash. Like if we're talking about Power Man and Iron Fist, this would have been considered, oh yeah, cool, Power Man and Iron Fist. Oh, but it's a shit one. Why? I'm sure you guys can guess. Well, because the heroes are falling. They're upside down and they're falling. They're not doing heroic things like punching the bad guys or whatever. Again, today, I don't know what this would sell for. I know it's somewhere in the 4 figures. No idea how many, but just for the fact that it's an early 80s or late 70s or maybe mid 80s, yeah. Which nowadays is Christ. You're verging on 40 years ago almost. It's like mid 3.5 decades ago. Yeah. So I had to do this just because I missed it before. Hordas, shit.
Well,
do you mean they look like it, or they're just a shit character? Yeah, I think both actually, right?
Yeah.
That's
Ruben, I would still call this an action page.
And Ian says probably in the same pantheon. Exactly. There you go. I agree. So Hart, you're saying that this is still an action page?
Yeah, it is, because they're doing an action. Falling's an action.
Well, this is what I'm saying is, again, today there'd be enough people to be like, yeah, I'll buy that. Sure, I'll buy that. But back then, no. Even covers, man. Even like back then, everybody was chasing. Remember when everybody was like in the early 2000s, suddenly Marvel covers became all the rage, especially like early 70s. The 20-cent covers became all the rage. Everybody was chasing 20-cent Marvel covers in the early 2000s. And even back then, because the hobby was small enough, if you were a seller, you would suffer with slower sales on that type of material, like 70s, early 70s Marvel covers of mainstream heroes.
Mm-hmm.
They would hang around on the website for a while, simply because the hero's back to you, the hero's getting defeated by the villain, the hero's falling on the floor. All those things, like if it's not the hero, right, pounding the villain, those were enough excuses to say, yeah, I'll pass and I'll wait for a better one, Today, all that, it doesn't matter. All of this stuff would sell fast, Man. So that's times have definitely.
So, Ruben.
Yeah, man.
Ruben, can we call you the king of shit?
You can probably call me the king of shit. I guess I sold enough of what was considered shit back in the days. I mean, that's up to everybody else to decide. I'm not going to refer myself as the king of shit, but it's up to you if you want to. I wouldn't appreciate it by any means, but
okay, all right.
I'll leave it up to you. I can't force you to.
You are the shit. You are the shit. There you go.
I am the shit. Yeah, baby. There you go. I like that one much better. Much better. So Caesar is probably busy watching the football game right now and cheering San Francisco, and just like last week. Missed the piece, and like this week we'll probably miss this one. Oh no, sorry, Caesar, if you're listening, that's coming in a second. Let me just show you guys this one, because this is fun only from the point of view that, okay, it's got both of the heroes as large as you could possibly want them to be on any splash, and it's got that fun aspect of, hey, it's Mignola inking, early career Mignola. And yeah, I probably sold this one for like $250 or something like that.
Ouch.
Yeah, and that's because it was a splash. That's because it was a splash. I could get $250. If it wasn't a splash, it'd be more like $150. Yeah, and this over the years has had a few owners. Hopefully, Daryl seems to love it. I noticed that when he was super happy to get it. So one of the rare pieces again, where I know the owner currently, and yeah. I hope you hang on to it for a long time, Daryl. Yeah, very, very fun. Daryl, you're in here sometimes. I know you're not here tonight, though. But hopefully you catch us on Rewind and you see that I featured one of your pieces. But yeah, to me, I thought it was a fun one. And I do recognize that early, having been around as a reader already in those days, I was already well aware of, hey, this Mignola inker guy, he's pretty good. I like how he does his inks, Yeah, so pretty fun. And Rick says, today's low-end crap is tomorrow's top shelf treasure. Exactly. It's very, very true. Absolutely.
That should be a T-shirt.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm not going to be making them and handing them out.
Oh, come on.
Come on. Okay, so here's the one I was talking about with Caesar. So Caesar is missing another Jonah Hex cover. Yeah, so this is a late 70s era Jonah Hex character I always really, really loved. Caesar obviously adores even more than I. Much the same way I focused and have been focusing on Tom Grummett art for the last 6 years. Caesar for many years was hardcore Jonah Hex guy. He was the premier Jonah Hex collector in the hobby. That's what everybody knew him for. And yeah, so I sold Caesar a few Jonah Hex and weird Western Tales covers. And yeah, I always thought this was a fun one. And it's kind of cool that it's one of the earliest issues. Caesar, there you go. Hey, Caesar. Caesar, did you ever go back in last week's episode to check out what the piece was that I showed that you owned? It was the other Jonah Hex cover that was signed Jar, Jarr. that you still think. I believe you. I think you believe it's still. Who did you think it was worth?
Andrew.
Nah.
Ross Andrew, right?
No. I believe that everybody believes that it's Ross Andrew, but I think he has it listed as. Oh, he thinks it's Jim Aparo. He still has it listed as Jim Aparo because he saw the JA right as the first two letters.
Yeah.
But apparently Joe Rubenstein himself, who inked it, he had apparently on Facebook said that he remembers it being Ross Andrew. So there you go. Not that artists haven't had faulty memories in the past, but whatever. So Caesar says, still have my collection of Jonah Hex covers. Yeah, no, exactly. But I mean, you ultimately sold off a lot of those beautiful, or I think all of the beautiful weird westerns, I believe, right? I think all of the weird westerns are gone now, if I'm not mistaken. And he says, yes, I went back. I still have it as Jim Aparo. Yeah, there you go. So there you go. It's up to you if you want to change it, but I'd go with Ross Andrew. I think it's Ross Andrew. And Ian says, a close friend of mine in Minnesota is a big Hex guy for comic books. Okay, there you go. Yeah, he's another character who's like Power Man, Iron Fist, and others. Which there's a cult. He's always had a cult-like following, a smaller cult-like following. Yeah. So there you go. All right, guys. So we're almost done. Only a couple pieces left. Here, let me show you this one. So this one is early Howard Chaykin, and obviously what you would call crappy Howard Chaykin because it looks nothing like the style that Howard Chaykin ultimately developed. Obviously, and Howard himself would tell you that he'd want to puke to have to look at this again. But for collectors, it's a fun piece of history, right? Because we collect for more than just the best examples of the artist's work. A lot of it is nostalgia based. So for Micronauts collectors, of which there are a small contingent who are really, really crazy nuts about collecting Micronauts art nowadays, I would think this would probably be like a $10,000 piece. And yes, I came up with that number out of the, I pulled it out of my ass, to be honest. I have no idea what this would be worth. But I'm just saying that because of the fact that I've seen panel pages by no-name artists, certainly lesser names than Chaykin, sell for many thousands panel pages. So I figure a splash like this, even though it's mostly a splash of the Fantastic Four or the Torch, I would think this would be very, very expensive nowadays. I don't know. I have to say
it on Heritage.
Say that again, Hart.
Maybe we'll see it on Heritage next week or something like that.
Yeah. You never know. It would be nice to see this because once again, it's an unknown owner. Caesar, sorry, that was a lot hoops you went through to get to Ross Andrew. That's all right, And okay, so let me check out the next one. So this next one, Mickey. I don't know if Mickey's still around, but if you're still there, Mickey, Superboy and the Legion. And this one was just kind of fun because it's a nice page for a Legion fan. I liked the reason I bought it at the time because I was never a big Legion guy, but I wanted this for my inventory because again I did want to have stuff from as many titles as I possibly could, and the fact that it was early, an early example of a well-known superstar artist, it was just a fun way to have art by that artist, even though it obviously it's not a great example of his work, but for people who are fans of the title, it's a pretty fun page. So, that's something that I thought would be fun to have.
He still has it.
Say that again?
Mickey says he still has it.
Oh, did he? Oh. You still have it, Mickey? So, but tell me, but is this in your gallery? Because I'm pretty sure I checked it out and I did not find it. That's why it says unknown. Or maybe you haven't posted it or something. I don't know. Let me know. And Micronauts plus a small contingent. Touche. Yeah, exactly. 10,000 microbucks. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, for in the real world, it'll be 10,000. It'll cost 10,000 real bucks. Mega bucks as we know it. All right, guys. Well, that's it for tonight's showing. And let me come back to you real quick. And real quick, yeah, exactly. Mickey is Mr. Unknown. He's the one who owns all this stuff. No, I don't want to. Just joking. Don't want everybody to start knocking down his door, asking him to sell all of it. But thanks, guys, again for tuning in. As you guys know, wanted to mention that I typically don't. If I have a choice, I don't like to do more than 2 episodes of the same 2 consecutive episodes of the same style of show. But because of difficulties in scheduling, getting guests, this and that and the other, sometimes I have no choice. And so I just want to let you guys know that, again, for those of you who are just coming in for the first time or have come in late and weren't here at the beginning of the show, next week I'm going to continue showing another selection of the, so it's, in other words, the part 3 of a look back into the past. And let me show you this. This is what you want to be looking for on my YouTube channel. All right, so it's going to be the 3rd romp through my dealer inventory from 15 to 22 years ago. And once again, my pal Hart will be here for the fun festivities. And then, so that'll be next week. Other than that, though, starting from 2 weeks from now, I believe for the rest of October, I will have a mix of different types of programming that is not a look back into the past. I have much more stuff to go through from my old inventory, though, so I'll be doing more, continuing with the look back into the past show and tells. But, I'll take a break and hopefully maybe not until November sometime. And that's it. So just want to remind you guys, for anybody who hasn't checked it out yet, Hart, if you want to know and get a look at the kind of stuff he collects, go to his calf gallery. You don't have to go looking for it. It's right down below in the description. There is a direct link to it. Anybody who's not familiar with my gallery, there's also a link to my gallery down below too. And anything else you want to throw out there, Hart, before we go?
Yeah, I've got shit stuff in my gallery as well.
Oh, by the way, Mickey says, no, it's not my gallery. I have 2,000. Yeah, I know you do. Show off. There you go. So that's why it's Mr. Unknown. Okay. I thought it might be you that still had it, Mickey, but I figure my rule of thumb is I know that even when there are some pieces that I know who owns it currently, but if it's not on calf, I still put unknown, simply because some people, they have reasons why they don't want to show it. And, I feel it's not, who am I to blare it out to the world if they may not want it known, So thank you, Dino. Appreciate you showing up. And thanks again for subscribing to the channel yesterday. I shouted you out at the beginning of the show. I don't know if you were here for that, but thank you, my friend. And
thanks, everyone.
Will they or won't they kiss? Who?
Ooh.
What are you talking about? Oh, look. Okay, there you go.
That's love.
Hey, would you ever do a show looking at your current job collection? What is that? I don't even know what that means. Let me know what that means, Stanley. If that's a misspelling or whatever, if that's a typo and you just meant my current collection, no, because that's sort of vain. Like, I like sharing my collection, but I'm already sharing it on Comic Art Fan. So I thanks, Jeff. I appreciate you, man. I wouldn't show my own collection. It's already on Comic Art Fan, so there's no need to do a show about my own stuff, Thank you, my friend. Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Paul and Maki Poo Poo. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Caesar, I only have 2. There you go. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, but you still have all the hex stuff. Okay, cool. Get rid of this. Okay, guys. So let me I'm going to kick you into the studio, Hart, if you are okay with that. And just stick around for a minute, all right? And thanks again to everybody. Guys, I really, really appreciate you tuning in. As always, thank you for everybody who shows up regularly. I really, really appreciate you. I wouldn't do this without you guys if you didn't show up. It's because you guys keep showing up and making the shows as fun as they are that I continue to do this. So thanks. I can't really say much more than give you guys all the thanks, and thank you as well, Caesar. You're one of the guys who does show me a lot of support constantly. So I really appreciate it. And you too, Stanley. Thank you so much. And yes, we know what aloha now means. Yes, now it means goodbye. Thanks, Carl. I appreciate you, man. Mahalo, by the way. So yeah, exactly. I think so too, Caesar. I think so too. So that's it. So hopefully you guys will tune in next week for the third part of the episode. And yes, for those of you tired of looking at this stuff, starting 2 weeks from now, remember that it will be this is next week, of course. But starting 2 weeks from now, I'll be going back to doing sort of one-on-ones with other collectors. And the variety that you normally typically see from me. You may see that long promised 5th Andrew Hennessy sales show. I think that's probably going to be coming. Another one-on-one. I think there's a couple of one-on-ones. And for Halloween night, not sure how many of you guys will give a shit, to be honest. It's not comics related, but on Halloween, I'll be doing a special episode in that vintage paperback series. This one will be focused on the art of Gothics. So I'm a big collector of the Gothic genre, meaning the cover paintings of Gothics, and I'm gonna do for Halloween, in the spirit of Halloween. I'm gonna do a episode on Gothic covers, painted Gothic covers for probably that'll be on the 30th of the month. So that's it, guys. Again, thank you so much, and hopefully you guys tune in next Sunday. Oh, and just FYI, next Sunday, because it is the Kansas City Chiefs against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's the Sunday night game. I really want to watch that. So next Sunday, it'll be 4:00 Pacific, 7:00 Eastern. Okay, because I really want to watch that game, and I don't want to miss any of it if I possibly can. Possibly the last time those two quarterbacks play each other, so I don't want to miss that. So 4:00 Pacific, 7:00 Eastern, and that's it. I hope you guys tune in, and I'll send out another email reminder for those of you just to remind yourself. So thanks again, everyone, and for everything. Really appreciate you all, and that's it. We'll talk soon. Peace.